Hello, everybody. Welcome to our weekly Subspace Developer Sync. Today, we're going to go around and get updates from everybody on the engineering team, what they've been working on last week and what they'll be focusing on this week. Let's start off, as always, with the core protocol. And Nizar, if you could kick us off, please.
Of course. Hey, guys. So last week, the changes with the benches for the farmer were landed. No, that was before that. There was a farmer plot integration with DSN that I was talking about at the core protocol sync last week. That seems to work. Both Shamil and I have tested it. At least to a degree, it works. We'll see how it goes later. I have been working on upgrading consensus to v2.2 version with the ratio coding and KZG. On KZG stuff, basically we had and still have two versions of that. However, the new version with ArcWorks libraries is actually slower, and it provides worse API, but it does essentially the same thing. So I don't think we will be using ArcWorks for that part. We'll still be using that for erasure coding. But we also have a small roadblock on the erasure coding because the way Daria changed the erasure coding, we don't have decoding for that version yet. So we cannot actually use it for anything, and that blocked me because both in archiving and in consensus we need to use that new version. So right now I'm a little bit stuck, and she'll be back tomorrow, and we'll try to resolve it as soon as possible. Outside of that, was doing some debugging on the bugs we have seen in the Gemini 2a. Triple checked everything, didn't find any new errors or like problems, but had some debugging information added so we can trace it better when it happens next time. Otherwise, there are a few things that I can do this week without the erasure coding stuff. I can do Substrate upgrade, which is long overdue, and it is complicated because we have our fork of Substrate. So there are some things that were upstreamed since in terms of the sync changes. So I need to carefully modify what we have still different in our version. And probably we can also upgrade Rust because there is let else expression which everyone likes.
Great. Thanks for the update, Nizar. All right. Moving on. Shamil, you're next.
Okay. Last week, I started testing the DSN. I ran a scenario with 5 pairs of nodes and farmers with the same bootstrap nodes, and they worked with no issues. I also started adding the P2P metrics to our networking stack. This allows us to look inside the processes at runtime. This week, I will continue with testing, and also there was a feedback from Protocol Labs to our bug report, and I will return to that Kademlia bug. That's it.
Great. Thanks, Shamil. All right. Okay, I think that's going to be it for the core protocol. So let's move on to the domains and execution layer. Lu Cheng, if you'd like to start, please.
Yeah, sure. So last week, the main focus was to finish the palette domain registry. Now the PRs has been merged, reviewed, and merged. Apart
Lu
from
Cheng, we're
that,
losing your
I also
audio.
did some preparation for the co-domain node implementation.
Lu Cheng, sorry, your
Is it
video and audio is coming in
better?
broken. Maybe try
Can you hear
turning
me?
off your video. It's just coming in broken.
Yeah.
Why don't you work on that
Is it
for a
better?
second, and then we can come back to you after. Why don't you just disable your video and just go audio only? Okay.
Yeah. I already disabled the view.
No, I still
Can
see
you
you.
hear me now?
I mean, you haven't turned your video off because we can see you.
It could be some freezing.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyways, why don't you work on that for a sec? We'll come back. Okay, let's try again.
Okay. Is it better?
Yes, much better.
Okay, cool. Sorry, guys. Okay, so last week the main focus was to finish the palette domain registry. So now the PRs have been reviewed and merged. Apart from that, I also did some preparation for the co-domain nodes implementation this week. such as the domain ID type refactoring. So yeah, the focus of this week is the initial codomain nodes support, which means the ability to run a codomain node registered at Genesis and demonstrate the codomain node onto production. Yeah, that's pretty much my updates. Yeah.
Awesome. Very exciting stuff, Cheng. Look forward to talking more about that tomorrow. Okay, Ved, you're up next.
Hey everyone. Last week, the relayer side, the client side of it, was mostly focused on relaying messages from the system domain because most of the system domain work is already done. This week, we've got some things. Lucian got some of those the codomain specific things that we require for the relayer on the client on the codomain side. Some of those things are done. They will be landing in main soon, and some of them are being worked out this week. So most likely following Liu Shang's work and then coupling them up as soon as they are done this week for the codomains, the relayer side of the codomains. And once that's done, we should be able to start testing out relayer as well.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ved. All right, moving on. Parth.
Yeah, so last week it was deep dive into Celestia. Specifically, it's both white paper, fraud proof, as well as the main white paper, the code base, the cluster, some blog post, and some forum post as well. Just trying to understand how it works and the quantum gravity bridge as well. Apart from that. Went through XCMP in detail again, and as well as definitive bridge, which is very centralized one. Now I have started working on L2 this week. So for L2, I'm looking at eigen layer, hope router protocol, etc., and making notes and everything. Apart from that, I have started looking at the pull request and just started paying more attention to the actual code and everything, so that I can be prepared for the next design discussion that we are going to have.
Great. Thank you, Parth. Okay. Ning, how are things going with your onboarding?
Oh, for us, we are going through the onboarding checklist and have some one-on-one meetings, and also spend most of the time to reading some technical material and to get overview of the consensus layer and DSM and execution layer. And for this way, I will continue reading the material to get to more detail, and also if I try to reading the short code.
Great. Sounds like you're drinking through the fire hose like everybody does at the beginning. And I'm looking forward. I think we have a one-on-one tomorrow, so looking forward to talking to you some more. All right. And I think that's it for the execution layer. So let's switch over to product. Arthur, if you'd like to kick us off.
Hey, hi. No major updates from our partners this week. Trail of Bits, we are concluding with our fixed audit with them on December 19th. So there's no other updates on our end from there, but we should be done with the first phase. CLI SDK, I'll let the team talk about it. It's going well. Same thing with the Block Explorer. This week, I'm going to be focused on pushing out some updates on the product planning, as well as working on some Subspace docs to wrap up and start polishing our delivery of CLI SDK. That's it on my end.
Great. Thank you, Arthur. Okay, Serge, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm currently focused on Block Explorer. So previous week, I was doing some DevOps stuff related to the archive and Block Explorer squid. So I have updated infrastructure repository, added a section for Block Explorer Squid, like Docker Compose and Nginx, and it's already deployed on the dedicated droplet. And I also added HTTPS and subdomains for both Archive and Block Explorer. And after that, I started extending Block Explorer Squid. I have added processing for blocks, extrinsics, and currently working on events. And once I finish with events, I will submit PR and we can try integrating existing frontend, because currently frontend interacts with Archive. And I also want to spend some time with unit tests. So let's see if there is some space for that next week. And I also have on my list adding space pledged and blockchain history size for each block. That's all.
All right, thanks, Serge. Sounds like you're busy as always. Okay, Natasha, how are you doing?
Hello. Sorry, my voice is a little bit bad. Last week I was working with the UI for the Block Explorer. I get most of the pages we needed for the MVP. This week is completed those pages and apply the design. We have been working with Alex. And yeah, that will be my week. And also thinking with Serge on moving from the archive to the subscript he's working on.
Great. All right. Switching gears to the SDK and the CLI. Yvonne, if you'd like to go next, please.
Yeah, sure. So last week, I tried to to add some building blocks for the SDK. So basically, during the last week, I finally wired both Farmer and Node together. Also, I did a bunch of stuff like adding support for wiping, Node and Farmer state, getting Farmer info, getting Node info, etc. Adding subscription for new blocks, solutions. Yeah, also adding some plotting progress. Yeah, those kind of things. And yeah, so basically, right now, which I want to focus this week on the support of the blocking on the not syncing, so that we can be sure on that. Yeah, apart from that, I will work on polishing the SDK this week. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Yvonne. Sounds like great progress. I've been seeing a lot of issues come across getting resolved, so that's great. Okay, Özkan, how are things going with the CLI?
Pretty good. Logging is completed for CLI, and we are having a continuous and active discussion with Ivan on what to expose from SDK so that SDK would be flexible, and also CLI and other potential future applications would not import something from monorepo. Optimize CLI for better tonal structure for the configuration setting for the user. We have better error handling, and also finish the progress bar, which is the big news. So we basically have two modes for the farm. One of them is quiet mode, and this is the default one, in which when you activate it, it just displays a nice progress bar for your initial plotting progress. And for the second mode, which is the verbose mode, it just displays the logs as before, as we used to it. Other than that, my updates are pretty much on the research side. Oh, one more thing for the CLI. I also made an integration test with the farmer loader and our configuration file, starting from the start, entering all the values to the CLI and then farming a block, which was successful. So I don't think any unexpected surprises are waiting for us when we launch the CLI. Yeah, if you want me to, I can proceed to research.
Let's pause on that for just a second, Özkan. Thanks. Okay, awesome. And just, I guess, feedback to everybody on the product team for the app sync tomorrow. It sounds like there's been a lot of progress with stuff that we can show and tell and talk about. So Anything we can show for demos of the SDK, the CLI, SubSquid, or the front end would be great to see at the App Sync tomorrow. Okay. Let's see. Did I miss anyone on the product team? No. Okay, great. All right. So moving on to R&D. Daria is out today for vacation. Happy birthday, Daria. So she's not here right now. But I can say that on the R&D front, so we did release the polynomial PORs guide last week. We also shared that with several external partners, several of our research partners, and some director of research candidates. So far, I've gotten really positive feedback on that. No major corrections or issues, so that's good. Daria also released or finished the archival constructions for Subspace. So in the original guide, there's really just a description of how everybody's doing archiving with KZG. You know, there's like 4 main techniques that are out there right now. And in this other one, she showed how we would specifically do it, or how we could specifically do it in Subspace. And the next step is going to be showing all the different flavors of how we could be doing that for our proof of replication scheme, which is going to be a big focus of what I'm going to be talking about with Chen Feng this week, who will be out here for 3 days working with me. And then Ozgun did some great work. I'll let him talk about that in a second. Otherwise, the main focus for R&D this week that I'm going to be working on is just formalizing and analyzing the current construction we have, what we call the erasure coding proof of replication structure, and trying to get that documented and released by this weekend to the larger team. Okay, Ozgun, go ahead. Research updates.
Yeah, sure. It will be short anyway. So I try to understand how algebraic hash functions would work so that we can use them as fingerprinting. They have good homomorphic properties. In basic English, that means if you want to fingerprint data A and B, and you hash them, and when you add the hashes or multiply the hashes together, you get the same result with multiplying and adding AB together in the first place. So whether you add or multiply in the first place or after hashing, it produces the same result, which has great applications potentially in our protocol, and that's all.
Awesome, thanks, Ozgun. Yeah, and if y'all look at the document he wrote, it was kind of like the KZG one where, you know, there's a lot of hard math, and he just like unpacks it for you step by step. So, you know, non-technical people like me can understand what's going on. All right. Let's see. Okay, so we don't have Justin right now. Okay, so last but definitely not least, Jeremy, if you'd like to give an update on last week and how your onboarding's going.
Sure. Onboarding is going great. Spent last week at the Hacker House learning all the things. Have a lot this week to kind of digest from that. Specifically, start working on the engineering roadmap, which will kind of be able to get all the things out of my head and down in a way that makes sense to me. And digging into the code so I can get a kind of better understanding a lot of the concepts we went over last week. So that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeremy. All right. I think that is everybody. Any questions, concerns, discussion items before we close out for today? All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for all the hard work this week. Keep it up. And thanks, everybody, for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this, and we will see you again soon. Bye now.